What's going on, folks out there? I'm Amos Morale III, and welcome to the Recruiting Corner Football Edition. I'm joined by NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune recruiting writer James Smith. James, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Pretty day outside. Feeling the fall coming a little bit, so I'm enjoying it.
All right. Well, they literally got us in the corner for this Recruiting Corner.
Yeah.
So, let's get to talking about the Recruiting Corner. The buzzwords this week, when you mention LSU, has been quarterback. Everybody's talking about the quarterbacks that are there. And a lot of people want to know who's coming down the pipeline. So talk to me a little bit about some of the guys that might be making their way down the line.
Really a trio of intriguing prospects coming up through the ranks for LSU in the future. A couple of them committed. One they're trying to get committed in Shea Patterson. But I guess we'll start with Justin McMillan, quarterback for the 2015 class from Texas. A guy that came to the LSU prospect camp, somewhat relative unknown. Adam Henry was familiar with him from recruiting his wide receiver DeMarcus Lodge, but Cam Cameron hadn't really put an eye on the kid until he arrived at camp. They loved his demeanor, what he brought, his composure, his accuracy, and his coachability. And ultimately, they extended an offer. Hayden Reddick transferred, so they really needed another scholarship quarterback in this class. McMillan fills that need. Beyond the 15 class, there's a couple guys in 16 to really keep an eye on. Felipe Franks, of course, already committed from Wakulla in Florida. Big 6'5", 6'6", 200-plus pound quarterback. A lot of people have him listed as a dual threat. I don't really see that. While he is a good athlete, he's not really going to burn you up with his legs. He has the ability to create and maybe buy some time in the pocket, but I don't really see him being a rushing-type quarterback. And then you have Shea Patterson, Calvary Baptist, a guy that they're extremely high on. Now, he probably is a dual threat. Ran for over 100 yards against Parkway. Really good athlete, extremely accurate. Very good turnover to touchdown ratio. I think there was one stretch in 10 games. I think he had 42 touchdowns and 0 turnovers during that stretch. And, of course, his team went 10-0, unsurprisingly. So Shea's really high on LSU right now. I know he's going out to USC this weekend, and that could ultimately decide where he ends up. USC and LSU, I feel like, are 1 and 2 right now. And if USC doesn't blow him away, I could see him being a Tiger. So I think there's definitely some guys coming to the pipelines that could help address those quarterback issues moving forward.
All right. Now talk to me a little bit about some of the other top prospects that were actually on campus this weekend. What do they think about that loss? I know that was a tough one for LSU fans to stomach. So what do they think about it in terms of the recruits that were there?
Recruits really don't look – when you're a team like LSU – that year in and year out, you're putting a good product on the field, winning a lot of games, pushing for SEC championships, national championships. When you lose a game like that, prospects don't often turn to it and say, oh, no, it's meltdown in Baton Rouge, the team's falling apart. A lot of these kids think I could be that difference maker. And some of the prospects walked away seeing holes in the lineup, thinking that they could go in and push for early playing time now. In the end, I think a lot of them really felt the loss. In their heart. A lot of them are LSU fans off the field, off the recruiting trail. They're Louisiana residents, so they've been following this team for a while. Guys like Tyron Johnson, Dante Jackson, Xavier Lewis. Tyron is specifically, big LSU fan, and the loss really hurt him and his father, And while they definitely want to get in a system where the ball is going to be spread around a lot and he's going to have his opportunities in the passing game, they see some good things in these young quarterbacks, and they understand that they're being groomed to become good players down the road. So I don't think it really affected negatively Tyron or Dante, who was distraught after the loss himself. Was a little disappointed and said, told me, hey, before I was recruited by LSU, I was a fan of LSU, so it hurts. And a guy like Xavier Lewis, who's already committed, who's really recruiting both of them, a really good friend of both of those guys. They all had long faces after the game, but in the end, I think kind of opened their eyes a little bit as to how they actually feel about the Tiger program.
All right. Now, a bit of positive news. LSU picked up a commitment the other day. Tell us a little bit about that guy.
Love Jeremy Contreras. Always have since he was at Jewel Sumner and Kentwood. The only problem with him coming out of high school was academic issues. And he was really rail thin, probably 155 pounds at 6'1", 6'2", coming out of high school. So I was talking to him last month, and he was telling me he really needed this time to go to junior college. Not only to get his academics and everything in order, but to become a man, in his own words, and to grow up. And he's really taken advantage of his time there. And last year played wide receiver. This year they moved him back to defensive back. But I'm going to tell you now, this kid is the real deal. He's the truth. He's extremely extremely long, physical, great ball skills, really good athlete. I think, while you do have Rashard Robinson, Tre'Davious White returning, you've got Kevin Tolliver coming in, it's going to be hard to keep a guy like this off the field. A lot of people are calling him a safety. I don't think so. I think he's the best junior college cornerback in the country. I've seen tons of practice film. He's been sending me clips almost weekly now, trying to get his recruitment going again, but now he's ended it, and I'm going to tell you, this kid can absolutely play.
All right. Well, folks, that's about all the time we'll take from you today. Be sure and tune in next week for another edition of the Recruiting Corner, as well as check out all the great recruiting content we have at NOLA.com/recruiting. Until next time, I'm Amos Morale, and that's James Smith. Thanks for clicking on us.